Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining this live webinar. My name is Devin Bach. I'm here with Actify. And this will be more of a casual conversation as opposed to, a content-rich webinar that goes through slides. Feel free to ask questions throughout the conversation and prepping for a Q&A at the end as well. And we'd love feedback on the event through any means, whether direct or on this on the chat here. The topic today is dead leads and revenue, turning dead leads into revenue. And dead leads, by dead leads, we mean stalled leads, leads that a company has generated and given up on, that they're no longer pursuing. So again, I work with Actify, which is a conversational AI company. Our mission is to personalize conversations at scale. Right now, our core product helps call centers turn their leads into connected calls. And that's age leads, new leads, any form of data that you want to turn into a connected call for your sales team. So that phone call deliverable is really powerful. And the means by which we get there is through an SMS AI product where the consumer interacts with an artificial intelligence leading up to that connected call. And one of our largest customers is Vivint Smart Home. Zach Bitsoy being our main point of contact and lead there. Zach has been awesome and has done many things at Vivint to really help blow up their inside sales success through different channel partners, even helping inside sales pass door-to-door sales in new systems installed, which is amazing. But Zach, I'd love if you could give us some background on Vivint and yourself and what you do there.
Yeah, so I'm Zach Bitsoy. I'm the director of affiliate marketing at Vivint. We are one of the largest home security and smart home providers in the United States. We've had a lot of growth over the past 4 years in particular when it comes to our digital marketing efforts. And part of that is just understanding the holistic consumer journey and how you can re-engage aged leads or leads that, again, you've tried to contact and you just haven't had success in doing so. And Actify's solution has been instrumental in that process. So yeah, it's great to be here. Looking forward to the conversation, and I think it'll be very constructive. So,
and just a little more on you. So you cover all sorts of affiliate channel. I mean, how many different lead types and data sources are you over?
Yeah, I mean, we probably have right now around 60 active affiliate partners. It's a broad spectrum of marketing entities. We have some that focus on prospecting email. We have some that focus on social media. We have some that focus on paid search. So it's fun to kind of be at the center of a lot of different marketing channels. It's kind of this convergence of a unique marketing mix, and it's fun to be involved with all of that. So.
Yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense. A lot of moving parts for sure, as you've talked about your role in your day-to-day. What did the landscape look like before you came into this role at Vivint? What was happening to the aged and dead leads at that point?
Well, not a lot. I think sometimes it's easy to be blissfully ignorant. You just don't know what you don't know. And I think in Vivint's case, we felt like we were dialing aggressively on the leads, and partly because we do. But I think we felt like once we had dialed to a certain threshold, that there really wasn't much more value we could extract from those leads. And so really what we were doing at that point is we were putting those leads in a nurture journey where they would receive weekly emails from Vivint with the latest offers and promotions. But that was really the only touch point we had in the aftermath of dialing them aggressively. So.
Yeah, no, makes a lot of sense. I think people are really good at, running the regression models on the law of diminishing return, on lead data, fresh leads obviously being far more valuable and losing their value and tendency to buy over time. But to completely throw it out entirely, is what most companies do. But I think you're smart to dig in and see, what else can we do here? And why did you look into these leads, and what opportunity did you see?
Well, it was actually a former colleague of mine that scheduled a meeting with Craig Peeler, the founder of Actify. He scheduled that meeting about 3.5 years ago at Affiliate Summit West, and I was there for the initial discussion. And I remember Craig's pitch was really around, Vivint is sitting on a gold mine, and it seems like you guys are unaware of this. What Actify was willing to do is they said, hey, we can operate on a performance model where you only pay us on the customers that are acquired from, Actify's SMS and outbound dialing outreach. And so naturally that creates some interest on our side, just because, again, there's really nothing to lose at that point. So that, I remember that being kind of the initial discussion with Actify. And again, I can't say I was fully committed or necessarily thinking this was going to work, right?
Yeah.
Like, I think there's always an element of skepticism.
Yeah.
But Actify kind of brings several unique dynamics to the table that can really create solid re-engagement. So,
I there's definitely those sounds too good to be true moments, right? Especially with a product like ours. And let's dig into that CPA model a little bit. I think that is one of the larger selling points, right? Is being a software solution, but the billing model is that we get paid on acquisition. A lot of our clients pay per phone call and other performance-based metrics as well. Do you think that was one of the biggest selling points there?
Oh, without question. I think anytime you can bypass upfront cost in favor of downstream cost for the desired results that you're looking for, then it's a win-win situation. And it also shows that Actify was confident in their own solution, right? So I like that, you guys had some skin in the game as well, because it takes time to build out the campaigns. It takes time to ingest the lead data and to execute the right kind of campaign. Your team was really thoughtful about how we approached it and how we created some frameworks around just the overall messaging, but it's worked out fantastic.
Yeah. And that topic, might be one of the answers to this next kind of question I was going to ask, but I feel like it can be tough to get executive buy-off on anything, but particularly when you're saying, hey, our garbage can leads that we've kind of given up on, let's throw money into that. How did you go into getting executive buy-off on this?
Well, I think part of it was the performance-based compensation model. Again, when you communicate that, there is not going to be any cost until we acquire a customer from these efforts, that's going to precipitate some interest. The other factor was we're just not doing a whole lot here ourselves. In order for us to actually perform an aggressive SMS campaign internally, it would require some headcount, and we just didn't want to go that route. So naturally, it felt like something that could be worth pursuing, and we ran a small scale test, performed well. And so we've just got into a cadence now where we deliver aged lead data on a daily basis. So.
Yeah. And something I often say is, we get that economic buy-in pretty quickly with a performance-based model. And I think a lot of it was, some of the cybersecurity requirements, which we obviously met and exceeded the expectations there to get live. And, I think it's more that side of the things where we need to win that buy-off, right?
Yeah, and then it also incentivizes Actify to refine your AI, your natural language processing. And so consequently, we want that, right? Like, the better you guys are, the better it is for us. And so again, it creates more alignment in terms of the goal. So
yeah, Craig Peeler used to joke that our data science team is one of our sales teams, right? As the product improves with the performance-based model, it just increases wins for everyone on all sides of the table.
That's right.
What does your lead process look like now?
Well, it's definitely more complex now than it was a few years ago. We have deployed our own internal SMS when it comes to the first 48 hours of receiving a lead record, right? And we're getting lead records from a variety of sources, right? Some of those sources are, again, affiliate partners. Some of those sources are from internal marketing campaigns that we're executing. And so we have created some custom SMS journeys. In the aftermath of that, we still dial leads very aggressively, and that's kind of the bread and butter of what we do. And I think that will always remain the case, just because home security and smart home offerings can be a little bit more complex and they require a consultative sales process. So those are definitely at play still. We do a lot of nurture-based email campaigns, and so those are still ongoing as well. And then we've layered in Actify to the mix to continue the SMS and outbound dialing efforts once the leads have aged for a certain amount of time. So, you look at that holistically, and there's a lot of opportunities to, again, hopefully get the customer on the phone and sell a system. So,
right. And definitely a lot of moving parts there that you just mentioned, which I imagine leads to a pretty immense tech stack. What technology are you using to make this happen?
Yeah, there's a lot. I mean, when it comes to dialer infrastructure, we rely on Five9. When it comes to lead routing and distribution for our affiliate partners, we use Leadspedia. I can just give them a brief plug, like they're fantastic at what they do. I would argue that they're probably the best in the industry when it comes to all things lead tracking and lead routing. We use Marketing Cloud for our nurture-based email campaigns. And then for internal SMS, we're using Podium solution. So.
Right. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And something that we discussed pretty early on in the conversations between Vivint and Actify was, so obviously the cost per acquisition model, the age lead, right? Because when you're working your age leads, you don't have to reinvent your marketing systems internally. You can kind of just make a smooth handoff there, makes the dev lift pretty light. But something else was the rep experience, where the phone call being the deliverable was a huge benefit to you guys, eliminating some of the manual work for the reps. I'd love for you to just touch on that real quick, if you don't mind.
Yeah, well, anytime you receive a web lead from your own site or from a third-party site, you have about a 40 to 50% chance of speaking with that individual, right? The other 50 to 60% of those leads are never spoken to. And so that does create an element of friction that is difficult to overcome. In Actify's case, what you guys pitched was, we will text these individuals with the goal of driving an inbound call to Vivint's call center. We can outbound dial these individuals with the goal of driving an inbound call to Vivint. And, that's, again, that alleviates the process of us doing the outreach, right? Especially against some aged leads that we've already tried to contact. Again, Actify is having success in doing so. The re-engagement rate that is being achieved is really strong, and it can really transform a business in terms of, again, downstream revenue that's achieved. So our phone calls for us are the top lead type, and so anytime that's the overarching goal of a campaign, we like it.
Yeah, no, makes a lot of sense. There's a quote that's been attributed to Steve Jobs and others in Silicon Valley that says the best technology is invisible, and I feel like that we're doing what we can to live up to that, in the sense that the reps are simply getting calls in the system they're already using, instead of having yet another tool they have to learn, another system they have to get educated on, another portal to look at. The reps are overwhelmed with we call it dashboard overload. So that makes a lot of sense. And having put all this together with all the systems you're using, all the tech stack, getting Actify in place, working your old leads and driving revenue from them, what have been the results you've seen by doing all this?
Well, the re-engagement rate, like I alluded to earlier, is really strong. I mean, when you look at kind of the year-to-date baseline on that, it's around 11%. And so, a question that you can ask yourself is, hey, if I generate, hundreds of thousands of leads a year, which we do, and 11% of those leads end up re-engaging with us down the line because of Actify's technology, how much value do you think we could extract from that? It's going to be quite a bit, right?
Yeah.
And in our case, when I say re-engagement rate, that means, hey, 11% of those aged leads we send you end up getting on the phone speaking with the sales rep. And so, again, for us, that's tremendous value because our reps are really good at what they do. And as long as they have the opportunity, and that's the biggest thing, is just give them the opportunity and they'll figure out a way to close. But getting that opportunity is more complex than you'd think, right? There's even a lot of dialer configuration settings that are difficult to navigate unless you have extensive experience. Actify has extensive experience with their technology because they built it in-house and they've done it the right way. And so consequently, they have their secret sauce. So
yeah, no, makes a lot of sense. That's awesome. I don't know if you can, share specific revenue numbers, but I mean, it's safe to assume it's in the millions and millions range. So it's been fun to see that increase on your side. I think that I want to jump in a little bit to, where a lot of this started. So Craig Peeler saw some data on from Salesforce that showed that 13% of leads turn into opportunities, and full funnel, it's less than 1% from lead to close sale. And that's across Salesforce's all the users, the hundreds of thousands of users they have. And that's really where the opportunity light bulb moment was. There's so much here. There's so much we can go after. And if you guys out there watching this video, whether live or after this is recorded, are feeling you need to make big moves on the marketing side or sales side, feel free to reach out to myself or Zach, whether it's LinkedIn or otherwise. But thanks again for joining, and thanks Zach for jumping on.
Absolutely, it was fun to talk about this, and yeah, feel free to reach out anytime. Again, happy to speak to the technology and how it's transformed Vivint's business. So
yeah. Awesome. Well, thanks so much.
Absolutely.
Great. We'll see if there's any questions real quick from those that are on right now. Might need to expand. It looks like there might be one.
It looks like I'm seeing a couple here on our side. It looks like the first one's around, it says, how have you seen conversational AI as the right solution to warming up cold leads? And I guess we didn't touch on this so far, so I'm happy to speak to it a little bit. But one unique dynamic that Actify brings to the table is incentivization. And that's something that's really difficult for Vivint to achieve in-house. And so what Actify will do is they'll reach out to an aged lead and they'll say, hey, we can send you a $25 event voucher if you speak with a Vivint smart home representative. And naturally that precipitates some interest as well on behalf of the consumer, but it's also, again, something that's kind of difficult to achieve logistically. And Actify has a ton of connections across the entertainment industry. And so they do bring a lot of value from that perspective. And I think that's kind of a key differentiator. Again, I know we kind of lose sight of that incentivization a little bit just because we're always looking at the call data. But the reality is, I think it does precipitate a good response rate from the consumer.
Yeah, and I'll speak to that real quick as well. The other aspect there is the AI allows the consumer to never be forgotten, right? So if you think of a sales rep, especially in a high volume sales environment like Vivint, those reps, have tons of potential customers that say, hey, call me next week, call me Thursday, call me, and a human rep will forget those, right? They'll either one, forget them, or two, they shouldn't have to worry about them based on the unit economics of the call center with, all the follow-up just to get that one deal. Where with the automation, the AI can take care of that, right? The AI never forgets and will follow up Thursday when they said, follow up Thursday. Another really powerful thing is the consumers can actually schedule through Actify. So they say, hey, go ahead and call me Thursday at noon. Monica is actually the name of the AI agent at Vivint. So they'll say, hey, Monica, yeah, let's do Thursday at noon. Our system will call at that time. And if they answer, we send it to Vivint's call center. If they don't answer, we continue to follow up to get that call rescheduled. And I think that same attendee asked a follow-up that says, this is for a B2B business model. I assume there are there lessons to be learned that could be applied to a B2C model, for example, an e-commerce business. So actually, no, it's the opposite. Actify is very much a B2C solution. Vivint's obviously selling to consumers. E-commerce is an interesting space. Actify is mainly used for those larger, medium to large consumer purchase decisions that are made over the phone. So you can think insurance products or, home security, credit repair, and so on. But there's definitely a lot of advancements coming both on the B2B side and the e-commerce side.
Excellent. That's great. It looks like there was a question here for me is regarding Vivint's biggest lead sources. It's a pretty broad spectrum. I mean, we get a lot of leads from prospecting email campaigns. And so, we'll have third-party publishers that have their own websites, and they'll collect data on those websites, and they'll actually email their data with Vivint offers. Now, again, they're emailing those same individuals with other offers as well, but Vivint will be in the rotation. And consequently, we get a lot of lead volume from that particular channel. There's also a lot of quote-driven home security sites that are a little more generic in nature. So when a user arrives there, they have the expectation of getting quotes from multiple home security providers after they provide their information. And Vivint receives a lot of leads from those sources as well. I did notice that there was a question regarding, legal authorization to text dead leads before partnering with Actify. Yes, we're very serious when it comes to TCPA compliance in particular. All of our third-party partners have specific express written consent language featured on their lead forms. And then on Vivint.com, if you go there, you can see the express written consent language that we're featuring on our site as well. And so we for sure capture that. And we also use third-party tools like Jornaya, like Trusted Form, that allow us to see visual playbacks of all of the lead form submissions that have occurred, so that we can substantiate that proper consent was captured and that we have, again, authorization to dial those leads. I would say also that we're very meticulous when it comes to scrubbing aged lead data against our internal DNC list, so that those who have opted out of communication don't receive further communication. And so it's definitely something that's we're very mindful of, and again, we strive to be as good as we can when it comes to that. And I feel like, again, our processes are very strong. So
love it. I think that answered the questions in the chat.
Yeah, it looks like there's one other question here. It says, how has your marketing channels changed / expanded beyond just age/dead leads? It's evolved a lot. Like, we've hired some quality talent here at Vivint that has overseen display campaigns and paid search campaigns. So I think the talent that we've brought in has allowed us to expand those channels the right way. When I first joined Vivint, I didn't have a ton of lead generation experience, so I've kind of had to learn on the job over time. But fortunately, I've gradually picked it up and figured out, which partners work, which ones don't. And now we have a pretty good sense and intuition of, the right kind of deal structures, and we have a pretty good understanding of what traffic types are superior to others and how to right size the lead pricing accordingly. So
yeah, another question here for you, Zach, that just came in through the chat. How would you qualify the prospects you receive from Actify as inbound phone calls in terms of quality compared to the others?
Yeah, the quality is good. What I would say is it does kind of depend on what you're comparing it to, right? And so naturally, a call that you get from, let's say, a content publisher website, a call from that kind of source is going to convert exceptionally well, right? Now, there might be a call that you get from a more generic home security campaign that is just pitching, home security in your area and a certain price point, and a user decides to call in not knowing that they might be speaking with Vivint. The quality of that kind of call might be lower. In Actify's case, re-engagement rates are good, and the conversion rates were better than I expected. And so the quality measures up nicely when you compare it to the blended portfolio of what I manage. So
yeah, no, that's great. There's a question here in the Q&A section. Do you work with legal firms? Guessing this is a question here for Actify. yes, this has been a great space for us. The disability services industry has been massive. Premier Disability Services being the largest there, and there's quite a handful in that industry that use Actify that have benefited quite a bit. Personal injury law firms are a good fit, and credit repair law groups like Lexington Law and others are using us as well. There's another question here that says, out of 100 leads, I had 95% that have not been responsive. It just led to voicemail. How do we reach out to them and bring them for conversations without forcing or pushing them? I've been successful with the 5% of leads where multiple follow-ups have helped. And again, I think we just go back to, Zach's mentioned the incentivization, and also using AI and SMS, right? You can think when you buy a product from Amazon or other e-commerce stores, the consumer owns that experience and they truly feel like they're buying a product. And Actify enables that same flow, but over the phone, where a consumer texts back, yeah, call me tomorrow at noon. They're scheduling it on their own time. They know when the call is going to come, and they feel empowered when they get that phone call. They truly feel like they're buying something instead of feeling like they're being sold, just getting blown up with calls. So I think leveraging Actify and SMS in general is a really good solution there to answer your question.